Welcome to the Ag Seminar. Hi, I'm Terry Hicks. I am the director of the Business and Entrepreneurship Center, and welcome to our Ag Seminar. I want to go ahead and get started here. We have 8 speakers, and also we have our live video feed from China coming in. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Mr. John Means. John is our Associate Chancellor of Economic Workforce Development at Kern Community College District.
Thank you. I just want to add my welcome to everybody that's here. I want to thank Terry for all the hard work she's done and the staff as well as our sponsors. The other thing I'd like to say is that I am the Associate Chancellor with the Kern Community College District. Our colleges are Porterville College, Bakersfield College, and Saracosa College in Ridgecrest. I want to tell you that as community colleges, we have 2 primary missions, so you understand why we're doing this workshop today. One is that we take incoming students and do a great job with some of our faculty that teach them, and they end up getting certificates or they transfer on. Those are either high school students or adults who come in to take our classes to go on to get a certificate or to a degree. Another primary mission is economic and workforce development, to do the kind of workshops that we have today. So in your packet is one of our brochures that outlines the services and programs and centers that we offer that help businesses directly to do a better job. Those programs don't necessarily work with students. They don't necessarily have anything to do with students. They exist in order to help businesses do a better job. And we do that because one of our primary missions of the California community colleges by statute is to provide economic and workforce development programs. Package that with what we do with our students, and we believe we make a tremendous contribution to the community to help provide you a workforce. This is one of those programs, and so again, we're pleased and enthusiastic about it. Glad that you're here. Welcome, and thank you again, Terry.
Mr. Vincent Fong from Congressman Kevin McCarthy's office is here to give us a legislative update. Vince?
Good afternoon. It may be starting the bad news first, I guess, get it out of the way. On behalf of Congressman McCarthy, it's certainly an honor to be here. I'll kind of give a brief overview. If you have any questions or specifics that you want me to get into, feel free to just raise your hand or stop me, and I can try to answer them as we go along. What's going on in Washington? Certainly, if you've been reading the newspapers and the news, the spending budget issues are dominating the discussion. And for those who watched or listened to the president's speech on jobs the other evening, one of the components that I think there is some consensus on is the trade agreements that I believe the president wants to submit to Congress for Congress to review and to pass. The president at this point in time has not submitted anything to Congress, so we are awaiting, at least he submitted his bill, but he hasn't submitted the trade agreements for the Senate and the House to review. The sticking point is a lot of the labor agreements and the trade adjustment assistance that some of the unions want to include as provisions. So that will be something I think that will be hashed out. But in terms of the trade agreements in and of themselves, I think there is some consensus amongst all parties that would be good for the United States in terms of ag exports and exports in general. And those trade agreements are Korea, Colombia, and Panama. So on the trade front, that's something that is moving forward, hopefully, once the president submits those to Congress. In terms of agriculture specifically, the Farm Bill is something that will be moving forward, I believe, starting soon. So the committees, the ag committees on both the House and the Senate side will be starting hearings and taking that up. So if you have specific issues in terms of the Farm Bill, I'll be happy to entertain those. The last Farm Bill added some specific provisions to help specialty crops, which are your vegetables and your fruits. Traditionally, a lot of the controversies surround the traditional crops, your cotton, those that have the subsidies that are tied to it. And a lot of the uncertainty that exists now is due to the fact that the framework in terms of where the baselines are still in flux. The debt ceiling agreement that was passed and signed lays out a framework, but the supercommittee that is, for lack of a better term, that is convened currently, they will be looking for cuts in all areas, including agriculture and across the board. So that's something that will that adds a layer of uncertainty to everything that's going on. The supercommittee is tasked to find $1.2 to $1.5 trillion of cuts over the next 10 years, by Thanksgiving. So if the supercommittee does not come to an agreement, then those cuts that 1.2 trillion will happen. Cuts will happen automatically. They call it sequestration, for lack of a better term, and that's more of a Washington term. But basically, 50% of the cuts will come from security funds, so your defense and your military and your homeland security, and then the other half will come from your Medicare and your other entitlement programs that exist, as well as other domestic programs. So the cuts, no one wants the cuts to happen automatically, so that provides the added pressure to get for the supercommittee to kind of come to an agreement. So in terms of that, I mean, that's the specifics. The overall lens, I guess, that everyone's going to be, I guess everything will be viewed as is in terms of jobs and the economy and the small business climate. We, at least from our perspective, we don't believe that the government can create any jobs. It is our view that we need to create a climate for private sector businesses to expand and to grow. So I don't know what your views are in terms of the president's proposal, and I'd be happy to take those views as well. Our concern, obviously, and the details are still coming out, is that more of the projects are more government-based stimulus, and they won't say it, and then the funding aspect of it is a tax increase for those who make $200,000 or more. And that is a problem for those who are small business owners who are looking to expand, is that a lot of people who are sole proprietors or who are not incorporated, their business income and their personal income are blended together. And so when you file your income, you're taxed at the higher tax rate because it's part of your personal income, not as separated from a business and a personal income. And so that is certainly a large challenge and a problem that exists currently moving forward, is that originally the president said 250,000 or more will pay, and he's lowered that to 200,000. And so that is a big an issue for at least the Congress in terms of moving forward on this proposal. So so in terms of that, so you have that moving forward, you have the supercommittee acting, and you have the trade agreements moving forward. So I'll end there in terms of what's going on in Washington, and then I can be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
New question. Ag jobs for temporary farm laborers and water rights. Two issues that are highly controversial, but moving forward. Ag jobs as the legislation proposed in the past is not something that has been reintroduced. So ag jobs in and of itself is nothing that is not something that is currently in legislative form. The thing that you're referring to, I guess, is the E-Verify guest worker program that I guess that's being debated. We have been working with Chairman Smith to try to figure out a solution that agriculture will accept in terms of the guest worker program. The challenge is, at least from our perspective, is that many people in Washington don't understand that our agriculture here is a year-round cycle. Those in the Midwest and those in the East Coast, they can probably tailor their labor force to the seasons and
That's something that we've worked with Western Growers and the California Farm Bureau and a lot of all the major agricultural organizations, including the local Kern County Farm Bureau, to try to find some solution. Congressman Lundgren has a proposal out there that I believe that a lot of those in agriculture are kind of coalescing around, but it's a good start, but amongst specific farmers locally, from what we've heard, it doesn't go far enough. And so that's something that we'll have to figure out. In terms of water rights and the water legislation, Congressman McCarthy, along with Congressman Nunes and Denham, have introduced legislation to kind of provide a comprehensive solution to our water issue. The challenges are less political but more regional, where the North has some concerns over the Delta and in terms of our view of turning the pumps on. So I think we're pretty close. We worked out all the major problems. It's been introduced. The committee is looking to hold a hearing on it fairly soon, and then once that happens, it will go to the floor for a vote. And so if we can get it out of the House, the challenge will be in the Senate, and that's kind of always been our expectation. Feinstein and Boxer, who originally agreed with the framework when it was agreed to in the early 90s, now somehow switched and opposed the legislation. So we're going to have to try to figure that out, try to get 60 votes to get it to the president. I mean, the other thing I will add, which I think hasn't gotten a lot of attention, is that as Congress has gotten into session, the major issue, I guess, in terms of, from our perspective, to kind of jumpstart the private sector and to improve the business climate is to provide relief regulatorily, provide some regulatory relief on small businesses. And so you'll begin to see specific actions taken by the committees and by the House representatives to begin to repeal and defund a lot of agencies and specific regulations that are going to take place. One of the first pieces of actions that will be taken on the floor will be something that regards to farm dust, the particulate PM10, PM2.5, to kind of provide some relief there to remove those rules. As you know, the president decided to withdraw his ozone rule that will have an impact on the valley in terms of onerous regulations. We have our legislation that would not only delay and repeal the rule, which the president did, but also repeal the $29 million fine that I think that the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control Board was imposing on local businesses. That fine is still our challenge. That part was not undone by the administration, so we're working with Energy and Commerce Committee to try to still repeal that. The problem and the most upsetting thing about the fine is that it is a regulation under the Clean Air Act that is no longer enforced by the EPA. It is something that they no longer subscribe to, but the courts have ruled that they must enforce it. And so they're enforcing something and fining local industry on something that they no longer enforce. And that is something that we believe is not right and is unacceptable. So those are the types of actions on the regulatory front that we're trying to undo. And so if you have regulations specifically that you feel are burdensome or onerous, we'd certainly like to know them, and then we will include them in the packages that we're trying to introduce. And I welcome that at any time, and I'll leave my information, or if you want to tell them to me now, I'd be happy to take that back to Washington. The bill was introduced by the committees, the bill was introduced on Monday by some Democrats in Congress. I think it was specific. I think it was Pelosi and other folks, leadership, that introduced it. The tax provisions are out there. Our view is that we need to begin to reduce the corporate tax rate and allow some money to come back into the United States. So the corporate tax provisions, I think, will have to go through the Ways and Means Committee and kind of work their way through. They will be, I think, done in conjunction with the super committee, but the tax pieces, I think, are going to be very important in terms of the long-term health of the economy, and so I don't foresee it moving fairly quickly, but it will be something that will be fairly debated vigorously, and especially the $200,000 tax increase. I don't know if that answers your specific question. It has been introduced, yes. In terms of how fast it's going to move, the president's out there campaigning right now for it. But in terms of whether it gets out of the House and the Senate, that's a different story. All right, well, I'll stick around. I'll sit at this table over here, so if you have any specific things that come up, let me know.
Next is Glenn Roberts with the U.S. Department of Commerce. And just as kind of a show of hands, who here are growers? There we go. Cattlemen, ranchers, fertilizing, citrus, pistachio, seed. There we go. We have faculty here. We have students here. Thank you very much to Lindsay Ono and his Ag Ambassadors group from Bakersfield College today. They were very helpful in setting up the meeting room as well, too. Okay, Glenn, here we go. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Terry. And thank you very much. I think I barely see the screens from here, but that's okay. I've been through this before. My name is Glenn Roberts, and I work with the U.S. Department of Commerce. And our initial mission for our agency is to actually help U.S. companies export their products, services, or even technology. So on a daily basis, I work with a mix of ag, industries, helping some of our educational institutions transfer technology out into the world of commerce, and services. Engineering services are a big part of what's going on out there in the global marketplaces, and we have a wealth of knowledge here in Southern California, especially when it comes to irrigation technology. So those services are starting to be utilized around the globe, and it's really kind of nice to see our companies start to benefit from that. The agency is comprised of about 100 some odd offices here in the United States. I get to direct 2 offices, one in Bakersfield, one in Fresno, and I'm currently residing up in Fresno, but I had previously resided here in Bakersfield for approximately 10 years, servicing the area here. So all of our colleagues, though, they reside and work out of the embassies and consulates. So it brings a world of connectivity right to our own marketplaces right here. So I hope we can work with you folks. Now, a lot of the times when I'm working with companies that are not used to exporting, and I've been doing it for a while, so I try to be real patient, and it's the same kind of process. What kind of strategy do we have today? How can we help companies formulate a strategy so they can march forward? So we have a series of assessments, and then we kind of sit down with them, and then we also try to implement the strategy. So it's always good to, for me, to work with some of the chief operating officers or chief executive officers of companies or owners, and to actually help devise a strategy and then make an implementation so we can carry it forward and see some exports. I'm kind of lost here, but okay. And most of the time, a lot of my work is spent on trade counseling. At least 80% of my time on a daily basis is spent just in counseling. So with the experience that I bring to the table, and also with the resources that we have at the department, I'm able to really help companies out simply by counseling, opening a door, getting contact information, help communicate with our post overseas. And a lot of times, this is probably the most successful area for us to stay in, actually. So our agency brings a lot of experience to the table, and if I personally don't have it, I will find it for you. So that's it's always a good thing. The next best thing I think we're kind of known for is business matchmaking. And we're just B2B matchmaking, introducing your company to foreign buyers. And it happens just about everywhere I go, it seems like. So we're going to be doing it real shortly at the World Ag Expo, and we're going to get a presentation from them today. For example, I'm also leading a trade mission this year to Turkey for renewable energies, and that's all facilitated with business matchmaking. So obviously, we bring to the table this actual personal connection to meet qualified and vetted buyers. So it's a really good program. Another part of the job that's really helpful for our client base is actually bringing some of the regulations and policies from overseas to your desktop. And in that way, you can understand what it takes to get your products or services into their marketplaces. And so this is a big area of research that we have to cover, and I think it's a really important area for us to work with you folks on it. Trade partners. Let's see. We have the CITD, the BEC, the USDA. we have quite a few others out here. It's an alphabet soup, but we have a Center for International Trade Development. You're going to hear from them today too. Our state partners. We're constantly working with partners. The Business Entrepreneurship Center, working with them. The Kern Community College District, we're completely partners with them. We see Jack out here from the airport. We partner with them. Chambers of Commerce, up and down the valley. So we try to work with partners to help everybody actually go overseas and export. The partnerships, I wish it was like really organized and structured, but it's everybody trying to help out. I have some of the best partners in the whole state that collaborate with us, and they actually bring a can-do attitude to the table. So I'm really kind of happy. I see Melinda back there and KEDC, and we've worked with them over the years quite a bit. So a lot of the folks kind of know who I am and what I do. One of the easiest things that we can do, and if you get a hit on your website from overseas somewhere, you can find out a lot about where they're coming from by looking up this country commercial guide. And you're going to hear a briefing from my colleague in China today. And they write up these reports. And the country commercial guide is a nice overview of what the country is structured like, how they're doing, what kind of political structure they have, what kind of electricity system they use, and so on and so forth. So it's a great guide to start with. And all you have to do is log into export.gov and check out our market research library. Every now and again, we get to do a background check on a company, a foreign buyer, someone who's approached us and we really don't know who they are. They haven't been introduced to you through us. And so who are these folks? Where are they coming from? Are they legitimate? Do they have a good market reputation? We have a background service that we can check, and our colleagues overseas, plus other contracted businesses over there, will bring you an in-depth analysis of what your partner or your buyer looks like. So it's important. Some people need it to feel comfortable. I do about 2 of these a year. Doesn't seem like a whole lot, but each one of them has paved the way to move forward with a nice transaction. So it's something that you folks might want to just keep in mind. The other types of service is actually communicating with our posts, our embassies, and our consulates to find out some solutions. So I'll be working next week with automotive equipment going into Israel, and they're looking for standards in our aftermarket automotive industry. We don't have the kind of same standards what they're looking for, so we're going to be working on some of these kind of issues as we move along, and others as well. If you can't get up and meet buyers, then we have a way to bring and conduct a partner search. And this will bring qualified partners to the table based upon your criteria, but you're going to have to do the hard work and reach out to them and introduce yourselves. So it's a service that we provide. I think it's kind of better to utilize another service that we have, which is a Gold Key service, which is an actual personal business-to-business matchmaking type of service. Trade missions, again, referring to the one I'm working on right now. The Undersecretary of Commerce is going to lead our mission, and that brings out the high-level officials in Turkey, which is the reciprocating country, and they're going to be able to brief our companies about their policies, their marketplace, and then also that brings the high-level, credible companies to the table, and those are the type of partners that we're looking for. The the trade events, like the World Ag Expo, which comes up in February. Then we also have, for processed foods here in the Valley, we're going to have a show in Fresno. This will be the second year that the city of Fresno is trying to promote a food processor show. So we grow the products here, they're being processed here, but now we're trying to attract international buyers here and also to promote the industry within the Valley. So these are sometimes the best way to meet some of the best partners and buyers that you can find. I do have a country promotion going on in Mexico, where the ambassador is setting up with a client of ours here in the Central Valley. It's kind of a nice service, actually. She's trying to attract quite a bit of business in the environmental sector, and the ambassador is opening up his residence for a reception, a cocktail reception, and so she can meet all the right people to do business with in Mexico. It's kind of a really nice service that our tax dollars actually get to use, you know. The other better services, I think, again, are just on a day-to-day routine basis of just answering questions. And sometimes we need to know today, we need to know as soon as we can about the challenges that we have getting our products into foreign marketplaces. And that resource of having colleagues and data on file to help get those answers out to you folks is really what we do on a regular basis. Some of the best stuff that we do. And I don't know this slide. Sorry. The best way to actually to get a hold of me is actually through email and or a phone. I'm actually one of the few agencies that actually answers the phone personally. I think the best way to help enterprises out there is to pick up the phone and see what the challenges are and see if we can address them today. So I can't be reached. The phone numbers here are all forwarded up to the office in Fresno at the moment. And all you have to do is dial the local number, 637-0136, and you can get a hold of me. So during the panel discussion, I'll be glad to answer any of your questions. And so make a note so we can address them later on. Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about the matchmaking services that Glenn's organization does. A few weeks ago, we did a very similar ag seminar over at Cuesta College at the Business Entrepreneurship over there. And one of the things that came out of it was there was a number of wine makers there, wineries. And so what Glenn has been able to do is we're actually going to be doing a virtual matchmaking to where our colleagues in China, the buyers over there, will be able to have a webinar with our growers, our producers here over at Cuesta College in that area. And beforehand, they will go ahead and they'll send all the product over there, and so there's a little bit of matchmaking going on. So those are the types of services that Glenn can provide. So in your green folder, there is a survey. So start making some notes like that if that's something that you might be interested in. And we can certainly start to put these special forums together and start to open some of these doors. Let's go ahead and move on with our USDA Farm Service Agency with Nathan Maragoni. And here's Nathan. Nathan is here out of the Bakersfield office. Welcome.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nathan Maragoni, and I'm the FSA District Director for the District 4 Southern California region of California. And thank you, Terry, for the invite and the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the agency. How many of you folks have heard of the Farm Service Agency? Good, several of you. How many of you have participated in FSA programs? A few. Okay. I'm here to give you a real quick, brief, bird's eye view of some of the various programs that we have. I'm going to try to work off of this screen if I can see it. If not, I'm going to have to rely on my notes. But This first picture was a picture taken over in Santa Maria, and it kind of speaks to what farmers have to deal with every year, and sometimes that's not good, and it's called the weather. And there's all kinds of uncertainties in weather, and sometimes Mother Nature isn't so kind to us. Farm Service Agency has a number of programs to assist farmers through weather-related disasters. Our mission statement, anybody recognize these almonds? Of course, they're everywhere up and down the valley. This picture was taken in the Rosedale area of Kern County. Our mission statement is to equitably serve farmers, ranchers, and agricultural partners through the delivery of effective and efficient agricultural programs for all Americans. Real quickly, our state is divided into 4 regions. There's 30 FSA offices in California. There's 2,400 offices across the nation. And if you look at the bottom portion, the yellow portion on the very bottom, this is District 4. We actually administer all of the farm programs and farm loan programs in that Southern California area. In addition, we reach up into Tulare and Kings County to oversee farm loan programs out of those 2 counties. Here's some 2010 highlights. Farm programs and farm loan programs combined, $667 million. The top California counties in program dollars were Tulare, Fresno, Kings, Colusa, Kern, Sutter, Glenn, Butte, and Merced. And 40% of our loans made in California went to socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. Here's a few more California agricultural facts at a glance. 81,000 farms and ranches, less than 4% of the nation's total. However, 11.2% of total U.S. crop value is produced in California. 36.2 billion in total output. We're the #1 state in the nation. We produce over 400 commodities, including half the nation's fruits, nuts, and vegetables. 12.9 billion are in exports in 2009 to over 190 countries worldwide. And interestingly enough, 9 out of the 10 most productive counties across the nation are right here in California. And that would be Fresno, Tulare, Kern, Monterey, Merced, Stanislaus, San Joaquin, Kings, Imperial, and Ventura. Our programs can kind of be divided into 4 major areas. We have disaster assistance programs, we have price support, commodity programs, we have conservation and bioenergy, and of course we have credit, ag credit. And I'm going to just briefly go through some of the more major programs. I actually read a fact sheet this morning that summarized the various programs that the agency delivers, and there's over 52. It surprised me, 52 programs just within the Farm Service Agency, and this is just a few of the major ones that we work with on a day-to-day basis. The non-insured, get caught up here. Non-insured crop disaster assistance program. This is a program that we use when a crop is not insurable by the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation. So if RMA does not insure your crop, you can come to Farm Service Agency and sign up for our NAP program, and that'll cover your crops. The SURE program is a revenue-based program. It's a fairly new program based on crop revenues for the total farm operation. The tree assistance program is used to make cost share payments to producers who have lost orchards or need to rehabilitate orchards and vineyards. The emergency assistance for livestock and honeybees and farm-raised fish was a program sort of intended to be a catch-all for a number of livestock. We've used this program almost exclusively for colony collapse disorder, and we have been able to assist a number of beekeepers over the past several years with death losses due to colony collapse. The livestock indemnity program is for livestock deaths. You might remember back in 2007, I believe it was, July, we had a heat wave where it was over 100 degrees for about 30 days. And there were a number of animals that were lost, both range cattle and dairy animals, and we were able to step in and offer some assistance there. And then the Livestock Forage Program is a feed loss program. In times of drought, this is based on the U.S. Drought Monitor and enables us to make payments to producers who have had feed losses. Okay, moving to price support and commodity payments, we have our regular DCP program, which provides payments, direct and market price-driven payments to established commodities. This ACRE program is something that's fairly new, where a producer can opt to either sign up through the DCP program or to sign up through the ACRE program, which is a revenue-based payment program. LDPs are price support programs to assist producers in the marketing of their commodities. The dairy programs, including milk, is a program where when the national price of milk drops below a certain point, the agency steps in with payments to shore up dairy producers. And then one that isn't very well known and doesn't get talked about a lot is this Farm Storage Facility Loan Program. It actually is intended to provide low-interest loans to build or upgrade facilities or storage or handling facilities. Under this program, we can actually make low-interest loans up to $500,000 on intermediate terms of about 7 to 10 years to upgrade storage. This is not for commercial operators, it's for producers who have that need for their own product, not for the products of others, but their own. Conservation Reserve Program. This program removes highly erodible land from production with incentives to implement approved conservation practices. There's over 125,000 acres in this program in California alone. Our ECP program is a weather-related program where we cost share with producers to get them through weather-related disasters. And I've got a few photos in a few slides here that will show you some of the examples that we've done just within the last few years. And then the Biomass Crop Assistance Program provides direct payments to owners of biomass products that are converted to energy and for the planting of crops. There is a BCAP program that is new just within the last month that encourages producers to grow camelina, which is a oilseed product that is being used to produce jet fuel for the military. This first picture, just to give you an example, is an avocado grove in the Santa Barbara County area. I think this was from the Hesacita fire. The second picture is the freeze, the major freeze that we had in January of 2007. You might remember that affected almost everybody. That was what we call a deep freeze, where it got into the teens in some areas. And then this is a picture of some flood damage in the Redlands area of San Bernardino County. In all of these instances, we were able to implement an ECP program, which consisted of a number of different practices to remove debris, to restore irrigation systems, to do some land shaping, or to repair fencing that was damaged because of these weather events. Okay, the fourth area is ag credit. Under ag credit, we actually do guaranteed loans and we do direct loans. Under our guaranteed program, if you needed financing, you would go directly to a commercial lender, and that lender could come to us and ask us to guarantee their loan up to $1.2 million. We also do direct loans, and this would be up to $300,000 that we do directly for farm operating loans, which are annual operating loans and intermediate term loans. And then under our farm ownership program for long-term real estate secured loans, $300,000 for that program. Emergency loan programs are activated only when there is a presidential or secretarial disaster designation, and that authorizes us to make low-interest loans up to $500,000 to help producers recover from production and physical losses in an emergency weather event. And then this last item, conservation loans, I'm sorry to report we were actually excited when the program first came out. This program was going to allow us to make loans to producers to help them cover the cost of conservation practices. If you've heard of the EQIP program, which is administered through the Natural Resource Conservation Service, they cost share for doing conservation practices. We could have gone in and made a loan for the balance if it was any approved conservation practice through the Natural Resource Conservation Service. Sad news is the funding got pulled. It got pulled a few months ago in that budget debate where they had to cut funding. So that was a program that we were sad to see never really got off the ground. Opportunities for beginning farmers and ranchers. Our ag loans, ownership and operating loans are at low interest rates. They're at extended repayment terms, and we have less restrictive underwriting standards than your commercial lenders. We have a wide range of financial products and services. We like to think of ourselves as the lender of first opportunity, and this would be for beginning farmers, socially disadvantaged farmers, even what we call succession planning, which would be where mom and dad want to get their son or daughter involved in farming and want to sell them a portion of the farm, and they need a loan to get started. We would be able to help in a lot of situations with those types of beginning or startup operations. We have over 70 years of lending experience with a focus on helping farmers in limited financial resources. Here's our contact information. We have our office right here in Kern County on California Avenue. There are 6 offices in the District 4 region, and as I said, 30 offices statewide. The website is up there. You can look us up on the website. There's a wealth of information available there. And I will be around later for questions. And one of my coworkers, Elsa, is in the back of the room, and we have some fact sheets for you if you want to come and talk to us and ask us about any of these programs. We'd be very happy to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is David Nicholson. He's with the USDA Office of Technology Transfer. I've heard David speak on a number of occasions, and this is just the most fascinating program. And it's always a pleasure to be able to hear what type of projects they're working on. And so I'm going to turn this over to David. Thank you very much for making the trip down.
Thanks. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you, Terry, for this invitation to appear before your group. I'm the Technology Transfer Coordinator for the Pacific West area of the Agricultural Research Service. I'm based in San Francisco, and part of my responsibilities include appearing before various community groups and to try to get the word out about our technology transfer program. My experience is that few people really have heard about what we do. We kind of fly under the radar, and this is a heck of a resource available to businesses and to academics that's not fully exploited. And I love talking about the program. I love to take questions. I'll be around during the reception to talk in detail about our projects, and I also have some brochures on the table in the back if you'd like some written information about what we do. I'd like to start these presentations by just framing the ARS. The Agricultural Research Service. Of course, we're part of USDA, and USDA is this gigantic federal agency, $100 billion a year budget, and it's comprised of many subunits. The Foreign Agricultural Service, the Farm Service Agency, Rural Development, it goes on and on and on. And many of these agencies have some type of regulatory function or some type of grant-making function. The ARS doesn't have anything to do with either grants or regulations, and that can be important information to convey to businesses that are trying to work with us, that we're not there to regulate and we don't have money to give to companies or to private groups. So the ARS is the USDA's chief scientific research agency. We are 1% of USDA, but if you start with a big enough number on the top, 1% still is a pretty significant budget. We spend about $1.1 billion a year on research. We're broken down into 4 basic research areas: animal production, plant production, natural resource use, and human nutrition. We have about 2,100 PhD level researchers, augmented by, at any given year, 200 to 300 postdoc researchers that work with our scientists. And we're focused on about 1,100 different research projects. And each one of these projects is intended to solve some kind of agricultural problem. We're very results-oriented. Our scientists are also academics, which I'll talk about in a minute. And we have more than 100 research locations spread out across the country. We have 6 locations here in California: Shafter, Parlier, Salinas, UC Davis, UC Riverside, and my laboratory, which is in Albany, next door to Berkeley. We also have locations in Central America, in Panama, China, Argentina, France, and Australia. And you can take a look at the different locations across the country and think of those as nodes in a network. And we have some overlap in our research programs. For example, if you're interested in dairy production, we'll have research that's ongoing at 2 or 3 different locations. And if you plug into any one of these nodes, necessarily you're going to have overlap with our researchers throughout the network. We have staff in Beltsville, Maryland, the national program staff, and their primary duty is to coordinate our research and make sure that if we have stakeholders interested in a particular field, that they get information about all the research that's ongoing throughout the agency at any given time. So this is the mission of the ARS, and I've highlighted in red that we have this economic development function. Our research is not intended just to be scientific curiosities. We're supposed to be out there actually solving problems and engaging the community and engaging in economic development. That's translated into terms of new commercial products that can be sold at a profit by companies, and it's translatable into jobs, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes here. So when I talk about technology transfer, this is what I mean. Publications, of course, that's the primary means of technology transfer. Each of our researchers is an academic, mini or adjunct faculty at the land-grant universities. They're required to publish at least twice a year in the peer-reviewed literature. In addition to that, many of our scientists also publish in trade publications. You may have seen some of their work. Our field stations also hold seminars and workshops and field days whereby we invite stakeholders onto the premises of our locations and we do a type of show and tell. And then, of course, we dedicate our technology to the public through our publications, and that includes dedication of new plant varieties. And then finally, the licensing of intellectual property rights is a form of technology transfer. So the technology transfer program is actually governed by federal statute. You can Google Green Book technology transfer, and you'll get a publication that's about 100 pages of these federal statutes that have been enacted over the past 30 years or so. And they essentially empower the federal government to engage in a quasi-commercial operation through a joint venture program with private companies, where private companies can actually come inside our laboratories and work side by side with our scientists to co-develop commercial products. And these statutes also authorize us to patent the inventions that come out of our research and to license those inventions, those patents, exclusively. So this is why we patent and why we license. The ARS has tremendous capability and potential with the first 2 steps of any kind of new product development. We know how to invent, and we know how to adapt inventions for particular applications. But we have 0 manufacturing and distribution capability. In order for us to increase our impact and to solve agricultural problems, we want to see a lot of our widgets that we develop produced and sent out there into the economy. That's why we need to have private companies helping us. Some of our facilities also have pilot plant production capability, which can be important for young companies starting out trying to produce a new product for the very first time, and I have some stories about that in a minute or two. So our research, of course, is based on these 5-year research plans that we have that move forward regardless of contact with collaborators. But we also have a need for collaborators because it creates a synergistic environment. And we do the collaborative research through use of various contracts. These are the basic contracts that we use for our collaborative research. And there's a bit of a pyramid that they form. All of our research is confidential inside our laboratories until we actually publish. And it's confidential because we have to preserve patent rights. And if you have a premature publication, you can spoil your patent rights. But that doesn't mean that we keep the information secret. If a company or another researcher at an academic institution would like information about what we're doing, we ask them to sign a confidentiality agreement that protects the patent rights, and then our scientists can collaborate with a researcher outside of our agency. A material transfer agreement is a type of confidentiality agreement where some type of tangible changes hands, and this comes up in terms of things like we have a number of technologies for the time release of fertilizers, encapsulation technologies, and there might be a fertilizer company, for example, that would want to test some of our formulations, and we would execute a material transfer agreement to see to it that we could send the information and the materials outside of our agency. We also have funded and non-funded cooperative agreements. These agreements foresee some type of ongoing relationship with a company and the ARS, where there's a need for frequent consultations back and forth, but in some cases, money's going to change hands. In other cases, no money's going to change hands. However, we use these two type of agreements when there's no intellectual property that's expected to be generated. And if there is IP expected to be generated, we use the CRADA, the Cooperative Research and Development Agreement. The CRADA is a joint research project with at least one non-federal partner. It's usually a private company, but not always. It can be a trade association. It can be a university. We can have more than one partner. We can have a university plus a company that we're working with. Ordinarily, the CRADA has the specific objective of developing some type of commercial product, and ordinarily it contemplates the creation of intellectual property. The ARS, in addition to having 2,100 researchers, also has a staff of patent attorneys and patent agents. That's my office, the Office of Technology Transfer. And the CRADA gives to the private company not only scientific expertise, but also the expertise of the patent attorneys. We can write patent applications at no expense to the company that we're working with, and that can be a significant benefit for our research partners. And of course, the CRADA requires the exchange of expertise and resources. If a company is willing to support our research and our scientists like to see expanded impact of their programs, and that requires additional technicians or additional resources of some sort, and if a company is willing to provide that, then in exchange for that, we'll give the company exclusive rights to patent any of the technologies coming out of that research program. So I have a few examples that I want to talk about to give you some context for what we're talking about here. This is David Ramming. He's been part of the ARS for many, many years. He works out of the Parlier station. He's a table grape breeder. This is my favorite time of year to come down to the Central Valley because the table grapes are about the size of eggs and just delicious. And whenever I have a chance to visit Parlier, they always have just baskets of these things. The Table Grape Commission is our licensee on these, and I think we have currently about 6 different varieties that have been licensed to the Table Grape Commission. And the Table Grape Commission is a large operation, and what's significant about this project is that we went into many different foreign jurisdictions. And this kind of demonstrates the reach of our patent program. We secured patent rights in 4 or 5, 6 different jurisdictions for all these different varieties, and licensed everything exclusively to the Table Grape Commission, and then they sub-licensed to their growers. This is another interesting project, a real fun project. These folks that you see on the picture are Matthew DeBoard and Tara McHugh. Tara McHugh is our research leader in our processed food unit in Albany. Matthew is a real interesting guy. He lived in Japan for a number of years and was working on different projects there, and he got hooked on these little sushi rolls made from seaweed with spiced rice on the inside, and sometimes they have meat and seafood and the like. He moved back to the United States and couldn't find these things anywhere, and he thought that there was a significant business opportunity if he could produce a similar type product, but he knew that the American palate really wasn't tuned for seaweed, that he would have to come up with an alternate type of technology. And he did some research and discovered that Tara McHugh specializes in thin film technologies, taking fruit and vegetables and processing that in various ways and to produce a shelf-stable type of product that can be folded and bended. However, it wasn't quite adapted for this application. So Matthew formed a creative with Tara, and the project was about 3 or 4 years. And Matthew is not a scientist. He has an MBA in finance. But Tara took him on as an additional laboratory technician, essentially. And Matthew worked in the lab with Tara night and day for quite a few years, and they worked out the formulations to about 10 or 12 different fruits and vegetables, and we patented the ranges on those formulas to protect the product. And of course, the company was a one-man company. He didn't have hardly any resources, just himself, his sweat equity. He wanted to build a factory, of course, because he could produce a certain amount of product inside our pilot plant in Albany, and that allowed him to generate some initial commercial sales and demonstrate the commercial viability of the project. In order to really ramp up, though, he needed some money to build a factory, and he approached the San Joaquin Valley Revolving Loan Fund and got a matching loan for like $1 million and had to raise some private equity on his own. He was able to do it, opened a factory in Stockton. It's been almost 2 years now. His product today is sold in Trader Joe's, Costco, Wegmans, which is a supermarket chain on the East Coast. Sales are just exploding right now. He has, I think, 8 to 10 employees. These are good-paying jobs in an area with an acute need for jobs. So it's a real success story for Matthew and for Tara McHugh. Here's another interesting project that might be of particular interest to the folks here. How many community college instructors and students do we have? So quite a few. So this is an interesting project. We have in our patent portfolio about 800 patents and patent applications. And many of these, about a third of these are licensed, and 2/3 are orphans. And so we're out there trying to find licensees for our patents. And we have a program called the Agricultural Technology Innovation Partnership, ATIP. And this is a partnership between the ARS and economic development agencies around the country. And the economic development agencies often include community colleges. And we had a community college in Maryland that was using our patents in their entrepreneurship classes to study, new product development as an academic exercise. And it turned out that they studied one of our patents, and the professor liked it so much that he started his own company, and a couple of the students went with him. They licensed the technology. It's been a couple of years now, but this product is just flying off the shelves. They're doing internet sales with it. It's a nice success story showing real-world application of how you can take a product from an academic environment and actually make a profitable company with it. This is another interesting project involving an industrial product. It turns out that there's about 300 or so products that require natural rubber. There's never been invented a suitable synthetic substitute. You have to have natural rubber for things like aircraft tires and many medical applications, latex and the like. The source of natural rubber is a tropical plant called Hevea that grows outside of the continental United States, and there have been episodes in the past where the U.S. economy has been deprived of a source of natural rubber. So there was, in World War II, for example, an emergency rubber project, and it turns out that a plant that grows in the desert southwest in the United States and in northern Mexico called YULEX produces a real high-quality latex rubber. However, it's a real nasty process to actually extract the material, but during war you do what you have to do to reach your objectives. So the technology was there to extract the rubber, and then it lay dormant for many years. We had the oil shock of the late 1970s, and Congress identified certain strategic materials that needed to be secured for our economy. Latex rubber was put on that list, and the ARS stood up a research program, and it took about 20 years, 15 years, to work out the parameters for a more environmentally benign extraction process. But we were successful, patented the process, and we licensed it to this company, YULEX, and they're in the process of trying to ramp up for commercial production. And this is a particularly tough economic problem because you're trying to invent and assemble an entire supply chain at one time. And it requires many different agencies and investors to make this thing fly. We're still not sure if they're going to make it. We hope they're going to make it, but it's a good example of some of the high-risk, high-impact technologies that we work on. This is another interesting project that is conducted in my lab in Albany. Castor is a plant it's a weed, really. It grows just about anywhere. And it produces a super high-quality lubricant that can be used for various industrial products, cosmetics, and the like. The downside of castor is that it produces a real nasty toxin called ricin that can be isolated and extracted very easily from the plant. And because of that, we don't have any domestic production of castor. The ricin itself is produced by a particular enzyme, and we have genetic engineers that are working on this particular project, engineering out the enzyme of castor that produces the ricin. They're very close to success on this. Once we have a type of castor that can be grown without the enzymes producing ricin, this should enable a domestic crop of castor, and California would be an ideal location to grow castor. Here's another interesting project that we're looking for a partner on. Might be a nice project for a community college entrepreneurship class. One of our scientists was working on aflatoxin, which is produced by tree nuts, and it inhibits exports to certain areas like the EU. And he kept coming up with hits for this particular molecule. He was using mass spectroscopy, and he kept getting a hit for styrene, and he thought that there was some type of contamination in his labware, so he reset everything a couple of times and then confirmed that no, it wasn't a problem with the labware, that he was actually seeing styrene. And the way science works is that you get unexpected results sometimes, and you just have to follow the data wherever it leads you. And it turns out that he identified a new microorganism, a fungus, that produces styrene in, again, a very environmentally benign way. Styrene is the monomer that's used. Once it's polymerized, you get plastic. You have to crack petroleum to get it now. And this is a way to get styrene in a very green kind of way. And we're looking for a partner to help ramp up production of this. And I think my colleague just mentioned this new project that's kicking off around the country. There's around 400,000 acres that are fallow here in the Central Valley. It's soil that is contaminated by salts, boron, and selenium. And there's also a water issue. However, it turns out that camelina, for example, is a crop that can grow in the winter with no irrigated water, and it produces oil seeds that, when crushed, can be converted into jet fuel. The Navy's under a mandate to buy as much green jet fuel as they possibly can, so you have a buyer on standby. But again, this is trying to stand up an entire supply chain at one time. We have breeders and molecular biologists that are working on forms of camelina that are even more salt tolerant and even more productive. And any private company that wants to help us advance that project, we're happy to work with them. So in summary, we have this technology transfer program that's part of the USDA. It's available to private companies and to entrepreneurs who are interested in helping us with our projects. We provide business incubator services. We very much want to show impact in the communities that we work with. And as I mentioned, I'll be around later today to answer any questions that you may have, and thank you very much for your attention.
Who has attended the World Ag Expo here? Wow. At our last seminar is like very few had, and so I saw it as an opportunity to bring down someone here from the International Agri Center to be able to talk about the World Ag Expo and also to the other support and services that the International Ag Center can offer us.
Good afternoon. My name is Liza Teixeira. I'm with the International Agri Center, and we're just going to take this opportunity to talk to you quickly about the World Ag Expo and maybe some opportunities for you, either as an exhibitor or as an attendee. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to stop me and we can go over them. It'll be pretty simple, just some basic facts about the show. The show this year will be on February 14th through the 16th. This is the 45th year of the show, and we'll have about 1,600 exhibitors and 100,000 attendees on 2.6 million square feet of showgrounds. A little bit about our attendees if you are going to be an exhibitor and you want to know what your audience is going to be and who you need to target. Geographically, about 80% of our attendees come from the western United States, 6% come from the Midwest, 1% from the South, 1% from the Northeast, 2% from Canada, 2% from Mexico, and 9% come from about 70 other countries. Some of their primary operations are 16% are dairy producers, 2% are vegetable growers, 2% are small grain farmers, 11% are livestock producers, 13% are citrus farmers, 14% are field crop producers, 25% come from agribusiness, and 8% are nut producers. Their primary commodities are dairy cattle, beef cattle, alfalfa, almonds, and a variety of other crops. You can read there. So if you're planning on being an exhibitor, it's important to know who's going to be there and what your audience is. The size of the operations of our livestock and dairy and poultry producers, 76% of them have fewer than 1,000 animals, and 24% have 1,000 or more animals in their operations. And farmers and ranchers, their primary acres, majority have 1 to about 500 acres, and then 37% have 500 or more acres. Some of the top product categories of interest are listed there: farming equipment, irrigation, crop protection, harvesting, ag technology. If you're planning on coming to our show just as an attendee, there's some things that you shouldn't miss this year. We have a new beef and livestock focus. It'll be 30,000 square foot pavilion with new technology in the livestock industry, cattle demonstrations, and seminars on breeding, feed efficiency, and cattle management. Some other general seminars that we have about 40 seminars on a 3-day period. The topics include dairy profit, general ag, hay and forage production, irrigation management, and international trade. These vary from year to year, but we always have a pretty good turnout and some interesting topics and speakers, so that's something to look forward to when that schedule comes out. Also, something interesting to check out while you're there is the new products pavilion, new products center. The newest and most innovative products from our attendees are on showcase there. Those have been judged by a panel of judges, actually just happened this month. You can go in there and check out the new products and then also vote for your favorite, and that'll become the attendee's choice. Farm tours. Farm tours are pretty popular for the World Ag Expo, and since we're in Tulare County, which is the center of agriculture in California, it's a good way to learn about our area and learn about some of the operations that we have here. Some of the tour stops have been large-scale dairy, citrus, wine tours, and cold storage and shipping. Something else to check out is the Forage Challenge. If you're an alfalfa hay or silage grower and you'd like to enter this contest, there are cash prizes available, up to $18,000 in cash prizes actually this year. And you can enter this contest, and the deadline is coming up in December. So if you're interested in putting your alfalfa or silage on display and maybe getting an award for what you've produced, this is something good to look into. Making the best of your visit is important. You want to make sure you get to see everything at the show that's on your list, and it's really, with 2.6 million square feet of showgrounds and 100,000 attendees and 1,600 exhibitors, it's hard to see everything. So we give you a resource to plan your agenda online at worldagexpo.com. You can look at a list of companies to visit. You print out your schedule before you get there and check out the seminars, and we'll get a whole agenda printed for you before you even show up. You can also register online, purchase your tickets online, and when you register online and purchase your tickets, you're automatically entered for some great prizes. So check that out, worldagexpo.com. Park and ride, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to attend the show, and we don't want you to have to deal with the parking, having to park and drive yourself into the show. So there are free shuttles that eliminate the parking headaches, and you can find a full list of these and a lot of the materials we print are online on our website. Visalia, Tulare, Clovis, and Fresno all have locations that service the show. And this is the second year we'll have an entertainment pavilion. We'll be announcing those probably in November what the entertainment will be, but on Tuesday night we'll have a great concert, and on Wednesday we'll have a dinner and a speaker. So be on the lookout for those. Those will be online for sale November 1st. And that's just a quick wrap-up overview of the World Ag Expo. If anybody has any questions, we'll be around for a little bit, and we hope to see you in February. Thank you.
Mr. Andy Peterson will be giving us a presentation on growing in California. Andy?
Thanks, Terry. Thank you very much. As Terry said, my name is Andy Peterson, and I'm the regional manager for the agribusiness division here in Kern County, one of 9 regions we have in the state. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of history about our organization, who we are. We're relatively new here to the Central Valley, but I think a lot of you at least have heard of us and know something about us. So I'm going to expand your knowledge somewhat, and then get into a little bit more depth as to what we can do for the grower to help them in their business, and specifically to help them create more opportunities on the export side, because this is something that's vitally important, not only to our valley, but to the United States balance of payments as a whole. So let's get going, I think. There we go. Rabobank is a very large financial organization founded in the Netherlands in the 1890s. We were founded by a group of Dutch farmers that had difficulty getting financing and formed a cooperative to finance themselves. So it's interesting how things go and go in circles, and that things don't change much over time. We expanded in the Netherlands through the 20th century, through the war years, through the 50s and 60s, and Holland, being a very small country, literally ran out of land for ag production. And the growers started to follow the bank as they left the Netherlands. And we literally followed our customers all over the world. Today, we operate in about 45 countries throughout the world. This is a map of, as you see, we're located in every major population area in the world. We've got offices all through Europe, through Asia. We've got a couple of offices in China. We're in Australia, New Zealand, and we're a very major player, mainly in the food and agriculture industry. In California, we came here in December of 2002 when we bought Valley Independent Bank out of El Centro. And that bank had a small branch network here in the Valley, headquartered by Bank of Stockdale here in Bakersfield. We had Kings River State Bank in Reedley. We had a couple of branches in Fresno. And we wanted this branch system to start doing production lending in the Valley. And we started our ag operation out of Fresno on January 1 of 2003. And we started with essentially a zero base, starting doing ag production loans. Today, we've got just about $3 billion in loan outstandings in the valleys and very aggressive growth goals going forward. We have a total of 17 agribusiness offices in the state, 121 retail branches. We've got over 1,800 employees, so it's an organization that's growing very, very rapidly. One of the things that we're proudest of is our safety and soundness. We're one of the very few large organizations, financial organizations in the world that required no government assistance at all when we went through the recent financial crisis. And there's two things that contribute to this. Number one, we keep a larger capital base than most of our competitors. Reason being is because of our cooperative organization. I'm going to get into that in a slide or two to tell you how we're organized. But we're not a public corporation in that we have no publicly traded stock, so we don't have the analysts following our earnings on a quarter-to-quarter basis, looking to increase the stock price on a regular basis, so we can afford to make a longer-term investment. We really have no shareholders, and this is a somewhat novel concept that took me a while to get used to when I first joined the organization. In that there's nobody that actually owns the organization. So we don't pay dividends to anybody. We withhold all of our earnings, and we continue to expand. We send no funds back to Holland, so everything that we earn in California stays in California. This is very important to me, and I think everybody in our organization. As I said, we were formed over 100 years ago as a cooperative in Holland, and we're still a cooperative today. We're owned by about 150 cooperative banks in Holland. And this is a very core part of how we do business. We're looking for customers that we can bring into the organization that are very strong, very solid. And somebody, once you become a customer of ours, we look that you're going to be a customer for the rest of your lives with Rabobank. So this is very, very key, and we're very long-term thinkers. One of the key things that I think that differentiates us from other organizations is we spend a huge amount of money on food and agriculture research. We've got a group of about 80 analysts throughout the world that analyze literally every commodity that's produced around the world, and we are financing essentially all of those commodities. We produce a number of reports that go out to our customers, to people we do business with, trying to be on the forefront of production to get us where we need to be. And it's something that I think certifies the dedication that we have to the agribusiness industry. We use these people to do a lot of presentations to customer groups. Just a month ago, we had a presentation in Visay to a group of dairy customers. We had our senior person from New York, who happens originally to be from Australia, analyzing the dairy industry and giving a talk as to where we're going. Unfortunately, we see the dairy people are finally starting to make money again. And so we see in agriculture, things are really pretty good right now. We've got good prices in just about everything, and a lot of what's happening to cause that is the worldwide expansion, especially China, who we're going to hear from in a few minutes. This is the key. As a growing middle market expands, everybody wants to eat like the Americans eat. Maybe they're going to wind up looking like us, I don't know, but heaven help them. But this is a real key, and this is a fundamental change that I think is changing the industry significantly. Where we go from here, it's hard to say. You know, we've heard before that there's a changing paradigm, that things are changing permanently, and then everything comes back to normal. And what we've seen in the past is that the California farmer can overproduce anything, and the prices plunge. Let's look at the almond industry, what's happening right now. Production keeps going up. We're going to have almost 2 billion pounds this year, and the price keeps getting stronger. We're a real phenomenon as to what's happening in the changing environment. And a lot of this is the increasing middle market of the emerging markets, of people that have more disposable income, and the first thing they want to do is to start to eat. We're very much of a client-focused organization. Every relationship is managed by a relationship manager who is local to the area that we work in. We try to have local expertise, local decision-making process, and then everything above is managed by a regional manager. We're an organization where we have no branches in the major metropolitan areas in California. We don't have anything in San Francisco, nor in Los Angeles. And this is what we want to keep. We want to be in the rural areas because we're mainly a food and agriculture organization. We've got the full range of products available. We have construction loans, real estate development loans, long-term real estate loans, operating lines, everything that a grower would need. Import-export financing, which I added at the bottom because of the main topic of this function is a very key ingredient in what we do. And we have very experienced back office staff to process letters of credit, documentary collection, anything that goes along with our exports. Our operating lines. Most everybody, and I've got a lot of competitors I see out here in the organization, we all do a lot of the same things, but this is the key line, the key credit facility that holds everything together. We're a long-term real estate lender. We're one of the few banks. Well, actually, we're the only bank that maintains AAA credit ratings from both Standard & Poor's and Moody's at this point in time. So I guess technically we're stronger than the United States government, but where we go from there, I don't know. But it gives us a good long-term source of low-cost financing. So we're going to be in the market at all times. We offer a real estate revolving line, 5-year line of credit for crop needs. It's meant for a farmer that has good equities in real estate, give a pledge on deed of trust on the land, and you've got a 5-year line. No budgets have to be presented on an annual basis, no renewals. A really good source of financing. Equipment financing and leasing, we've got a department that handles all the leasing needs you might need. We're involved in the community, and this is something that's very important to us. We speak at functions such as this. We support our nonprofits financially, and we've got people that live in the communities that work here that are involved in community activities outside the organization. And this is a key to the type of person that we're looking for to come to work for the bank, because we feel that we have to give back to our community because the community has given a lot to us in providing jobs, providing a source of life for all of us. Skip that one. This is the team that we have in Bakersfield, and this is our patented dairy cow that we've developed in Rabobank colors. That God knows what kind of milk that comes out of there. But we're here, and we're happy to be here. And as I say, we're relatively new to the Valley, although we've been around for a long time. And we're going to continue to grow and take care of business. I'm going to be around for a while. I've got some colleagues that are here also, that if you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer them. Thanks very much.
Well, we are accessing, or China is accessing us here now with Miss Lu Yang. Do we have...
Hello.
Ah, there she is. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. You are speaking to about 100 Californians.
Wow. Too bad you cannot. Good afternoon to you from Shenyang, China. My name is Liu Yang. I am a commercial specialist with the U.S. Commercial Service in the Northeast region of China. Our office, as one of the U.S. Commercial Department's international operations, work closely with the small and medium-sized U.S. exporters to promote their products and market in this region. China, for the agricultural machinery market in China, I'm very happy today to be one of your speakers to talk about the market trend in China and in Northeast region, and to discuss with you that how this would present opportunities and challenges to the U.S. exporters. Well, as many of you have already known that China is in the stage of transforming from traditional to modern farming. The Chinese government has planned centrally to publish laws, announce policies, and provide incentives to support this transformation. Although the fact that the international companies have enjoyed the higher-end equipment market, while the local Chinese companies have had to serve the mid and lower-end markets, has been the case for many years. But this market positioning can be challenged as China keeps upgrading its ag mechanization, and then the lower-end equipment users will become the higher-end market customers. Now, this will stimulate local machinery producers to adjust to the change by either innovating or merging or acquiring the higher technology companies that may include international brands. Moreover, this can also generate the price competition, given the local companies would enjoy comparatively lower cost, labor cost, and also they will enjoy the financial support from the Chinese government. What kind of financial support that China has for their farmers? The Chinese government has subsidized heavily for farmers or farming organizations to purchase new equipment from markets that meet the following two criteria. One is that these companies, the companies that sell equipment, and the farmers can use subsidies to buy their equipment. These companies should have manufacturing or assembly lines in China. And second criteria is that the companies should be listed in the National Promotional Catalog. Now, this catalog is approved by the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Finance, and the China's National Development and Reform Commission. In addition to list these types of equipment for promotion, this catalog is also used for China to optimize its agricultural machinery industry structure, and also to reserve the national and environmental resources. I would like to, okay. Now, I would like to show you this chart so you can see that the U.S. agriculture companies here have enjoyed the absolute advantage over the other international ag machinery exporters in the Chinese market. Good job, keep up with it. And you can see following U.S., Germany, and Japan also they take similar about the similar market shares in China's imported ag machinery market. Now, what drives the agricultural machinery trading in China's market? In this big pie, you will see it divided by smaller parts. And for those who cannot read because the letters are so small, I can read for you that from the clockwise from the larger parts to smaller. These are diesel power machinery, small engine machinery parts, and then irrigation machinery, and after that diesel power machinery parts, diesel generators, irrigation and drainage machinery parts, tractor parts, transportation vehicles, agriculture implementations and parts, tractors, harvester and parts, livestock and breeding machinery and parts, and plant production machinery, and then milking products and machinery, and food production machinery, food processing machinery. So you can see that mainly it is the ag power equipment and the machinery that drives the trading for China and the international companies on ag machinery. But also for these years, we see the increase of the irrigation exporting to China. This will be the trend for some time, and we will explain that later. So why we talk about Northeast China? It is not only because that I'm from this region. This region is also China's important commodity, grain, and husbandry production base with the best agricultural resource and great productive potential. This region is very essential to China's food safety, and it is also has the demonstration role in China's modern farming. The Chinese government had goals for this region, which is by 2015, the region should realize over 100-ton grain productions and 80% of ag mechanization for tilling, planting, and harvesting, and over 30% of the irrigation coverage. To take a closer of the Northeast region, it is consists of Heilongjiang and Jilin and Liaoning provinces. 2 years ago, the Ministry of Agriculture published a macro layout of the major agricultural production regions in China, which maps out the geographic locations and development strategies for all 16 types of crops, fruits, meat products, and also the goals to be accomplished by 2015. So under Heilongjiang, on your left hand, you can see that the major agricultural products that each province has and will focus to growth or increase the production. Now, this information will give indications to the U.S. companies, the market demand, and the major agribusiness opportunities that each province or the whole region may have to bring to them. This page has the stacks of the land size that each province in this region has for different crops. As you can see that Heilongjiang has almost half of China's soybean production, and Heilongjiang and Jilin takes almost 1/5 of China's corn production. Now coming up to the next page. Now this page includes the mechanization level for each type of farming operations in the 3 provinces. However, this page does not list the state farm, the Heilongjiang State Farm information. The Heilongjiang State Farm Bureau, which is a state-owned farming group, which is a national level that separates from the provincial level. Some types of ag mechanization level in the Heilongjiang State Farm is close to what you have in the United States. So many international companies would like to teamwork, cooperate with the State Farm. And many international companies which have enjoyed great reputation started from working with the State Farms, like in Heilongjiang or in Xinjiang, which is in the west part of the country. Well, I want to show you this picture, which is over 3,000 Case New Holland tractors parking at Dalian, which is a port in northeast China. These tractors were imported by Heilongjiang at an early time this year. As I explained earlier, that U.S. companies have been the leader of this market. Some big names such as John Deere, Case New Holland, and AGCO have all been well recognized in the Chinese in the China market. The local companies like ETO and Lovo have been successful for innovating and take more and more market share in for the agriculture sectors. Well, for challenges, U.S. companies should realize that in addition to the subsidies and the price competition that we just covered, they should also be aware of that the players, the players in this market also compete their after sale service and their inventory and storage for the parts, and the time for supplying and shipping, and also the training to the employees and the customers. Okay. I want to wrap up my presentation with the chance and the prospects that I see for the agricultural machinery market in China. Well, for U.S. companies, please be aware of the price competition to be generated by the local producers, given the subsidies and the lower cost, labor cost that we talked about. And also, U.S. companies should keep innovating in order to continue leading the market. A Chinese government subsidies will have more flexibility to serve particular needs of each particular region. For example, the newly added types of equipment that could enjoy the subsidies, let the farmers use their money to use the subsidies to buy animal and husbandry equipment, forestry equipment, drought-resistant systems, and water-saving products or machinery. Each province it seems that each province will have more freedom to customize their subsidizing needs. And then China's agriculture irrigation infrastructure is weak. The number one document that the State Council published this year is how to reserve the water resource and increase the irrigation level in China. So irrigation is one of China's top priorities to secure the agricultural production and food safety, and also to prevent droughts and reserve water. So U.S. companies could look more into the irrigation market and be aware of the new incentive policies that released by the central government. And still, the large and precision equipment continues to have a great prospect in China, as well as the green farming and waste-to-energy technologies and more advanced agricultural logistics systems.
This is Jeanette Benson with our Centers for International Trade Development. Thank you very much for coming down.
I'm from Merced, California, and I'm certain that most of you in this audience know where Merced is. And you might wonder, why would somebody in Merced be in trade, and do people do things there? I've been asked that since 1989. I was married to a farmer. I am now the farmer because he passed away. So it was my window on the world. Otherwise, I think I probably would have been, the only move I would have made was from Fresno to Merced. So what do I do? Well, in this room today, as you look around, you've heard from a lot of people. And I think the best thing I can say is that right now we're all doing a lot more with a lot less. But these were all agencies funded with your tax dollars, and they all got in one room. You had a congressman here today. You've had the United States Department of Agriculture, and you know that it's a elephant-sized organization, but what great things that are happening in that organization. You've had the U.S. Foreign Commercial Service Department of Commerce, Mr. Glenn Roberts here. And then I have to give a special shout out for the California community colleges. This is Kern Community College District here in Bakersfield. I'm from Merced Community College, and at any given day there's 100+ community colleges. And one of the great things about these community colleges, again, they're your tax dollars, but they're in your community and they are your community. They fund 10 initiatives under an economic and workforce development program. Ms. Terry Hicks is housed here at this college, and it is a business and entrepreneurship center, of which she also has a youth entrepreneurship program. And mine is a Center for International Trade Development. It's an international trade initiative. So those are just two, and because of community colleges, we bring some resources that normally you might have to travel quite a long ways to get. So just what you've experienced here today by being able to go into an embassy, these are resources that are brought together here at home. What has it meant in Merced? It means that in 1989, when Foreign Ag Service was only out in Washington, D.C., if you hadn't exported, usually commercial service wasn't going to leave San Francisco and come and help you. So what we did was bring into these regions foreign trade experts, logistics experts, take clients to the Port of Oakland or the Port of Long Beach. So that's a lot of what my job is. And I could stand up here and talk forever, but what I'd like to see is that you get something out of this day when you decided to spend your valuable time, and your time is the most valuable asset that you have because you never get it back, and you never know how much you're exactly going to have. You must have had a goal and a mission. So I think that I would like to say, whatever that mission is, if you want to export, if you wondered about importing, or if you wanted to catch Mr. McCarthy's guy and get a bug in his ear. I mean, a few of us heard some interesting topics. I'm sitting over there reading the high-speed rail plan and what it's going to do in my backyard. So there's a lot of things, but I think there's a lot of resources in this room. Continue to network like you did here today. Make sure that you get everybody's business card. Follow back up with Terry and with Glenn. I have an 800 number. Never feel shy. You don't have to remember my name. Just say, hey, I'm calling this number because I heard you talking or somebody from your office talking the other day. And that's 800-355-5892. Again, 355-5892. With a STEP grant through something called SBA, the Small Business Administration, part of the Obama administration's National Export Initiative, there will be a group of us doing export promotions, and we're doing it in partnership with the federal government agencies and the state agencies that you've met a lot of here in the room today. Particularly, Merced will be bringing an inbound delegation in from Canada that will be coming in conjunction with the World Ag Expo. So you heard someone speak here today, Liza. Texera, I believe, was the last name. That is a huge show. So if any of you are going to exhibit at that show or visit at that show, whatever you do there, maybe you're a service provider. That's the one thing we haven't touched on here today is the export of a service. If you're an accountant, I have colleagues that export their services. If you're a banker, we know where Rabobank's from now, the Netherlands. So these are exports of services. The government agencies such as Glenn Roberts can help you with the export of those services. But when you go there to the World Ag Expo, this is an example of a show that brings in many delegations from around the world. If you go up to the front at the International Agri Center, you can actually register your name or see which delegations are in there and go to the international reception where you can commingle with some of these people. But make sure that you know what an Incoterm is. Now, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands to see how many of you know what an Incoterm is. But if you don't know, you can call and ask me, or you can easily Google it. But long story short, it delineates the responsibilities between a buyer and a seller in the movement and shipment of your goods. Have your pricing and know what your price is going to be when you ship from a certain port. Know where you're going to ship from. So most of us here in the U.S. have really been spoiled. We've had a large domestic market, and we're pretty comfortable in our little niche. But as you can see, the Netherlands is here doing banking, and they have a better banking rating than our government. So if you're not going and shipping over there, they're already here, and they're beating you in your backyard. So what can you do? One of the things you just heard in the presentation is talking about the subsidies and the things that the agricultural ministry does in China. You can actually download these types of reports. They're translated into English. Each government has its own special needs that it projects. You can read about what the U.S. government is doing to procure. These are opportunities for you. They're an opportunity to maybe even see that this is a market that you want to avoid. So don't just go running for something. What we try to do is assess what do you have and where's the best place to take it, and where's your competition going, where should you be? So what does the CITD do? We've went from being funded from 14 now down to 5, and we have affiliate offices. So we are located strategically up and down the state of California, but everything is being done more with partnering. We do training, and one of the things is I'm on the road a lot. So here in Bakersfield on November 15th, 16th, and 17th, we'll be holding a 21-hour trade training program where we bring in a forwarder and a bunch of resources where you learn to actually work with the best payment methods. If you haven't negotiated a letter of credit, you'll learn how to do that. You'll learn how to look for trade leads. You'll learn how to download resources. So that's 21 hours of training. The other things that we have are a bunch of resources. We have something called peers data, and this would be material that would talk about a shipper's export declaration now. Where's product going to? Particularly, this is only ocean bound and inbound and outbound. That's something a little bit different about a CITD is that we also look at importing. So now we can look at every shipment and when it leaves, where did it go and who bought that? And we work off of something called an HTS number. Does anybody know what an HTS number is in the room? I'm sure there's a few of you. I saw international on a couple of shirts. It is a harmonized tariff system number. When a product comes in, it's 10 codes. We delineate a little bit further and deeper here in the U.S. Going out, it's a Schedule B number. But basically, it says this microphone is the same microphone for government purposes of assessing and bringing dollars into the country. It's the same thing worldwide. So looking at that product code and number, we're able to put your product in there and look at an almond, for example. Is it an in-shell, or is it just already cracked and processed? Each one of those steps adds value, and that makes it a little bit different to look at. So that's a product that we have. And the gentleman here that was talking about the fertilizer and getting that product into a country, you can see that he mentions certain steps that he had to go through to get that. Those are the things that you begin to look at. Each time you take your product, first of all, know it very, very well domestically. Whatever you're facing here, it's like the mirrored image that's going to bounce back at you. There are government agencies, just like they are here, those regulations that are in those books that we have here, they got them over there too. So who do you need to work with, and what permits do you get, and where do you get them from? You can start with Glenn, you can start with my office, you can start with the USDA. And I think you've kind of got a clear picture today about USDA and Department of Commerce. I kind of do the little T thing here. If you can eat it or grow it or it's wholly produced, it's over here. United States Department of Agriculture, and they have a foreign arm of the Foreign Ag Service. So China is an excellent example. You've heard somebody talk from the U.S. Department of Commerce about ag machinery, and now we're going to hear somebody talk from USDA, the Agricultural Trade Office, and that's going to be on a more of like a food and wine area. So you're going to see two sides. One could be the machinery. The other things are the food that the machines are processing. They do come together and they will cross over. I was one of the first folks that went back to Washington, D.C. to talk about why we should have an ag team and why people in the same government in the overseas offices should work together for your betterment. So we do have ag teams, and they do come together, and I would say this is an example of how we pull that together. With the 800 number, what could you do? You could call up to our office and say, I'm going into Chile. Could you provide me the country commercial guide, the Bureau of National Affairs export reference manual, so that I can begin to see what are their holidays? Who might I work with? What's their leading banks? You can get a wealth of information. You can also ask for a culturegram. Getting to know how to say hello, just a few simple things when you talk to somebody to understand how their culture is a little bit different. Like if you were coming to Bakersfield, how might going to Bakersfield be different than going to Los Angeles? Well, we now have all kinds of maps. We can talk about what the traffic might be like, what they might listen to as far as music, what the air quality might be. So there's a whole variety of things that you can get without leaving. So those are some of the things that my office can give you. And then I just like to quickly say that WUSADA is something called the Western United States Trade Association. This is someone that's not here today, but in conjunction with the California Department of Food and Ags and the Centers for International Trade Development, as well as folks like Glenn Roberts, there are outbound, inbound missions that come in, and there's opportunities for you to present your products. I just finished the Korea inbound delegation and the China inbound delegation. Both groups came into San Francisco and then traveled on to Los Angeles. And why do they only go to those big cities? That's not fair. They don't have any almond trees up in San Francisco. It's about the money, as usual. So the planes fly into San Francisco, and it's much easier to hop a flight to Los Angeles and then move on to Idaho or Seattle, Washington. Western United States is just what it says. It's the Western United States, and we all collaborate to bring these groups in. But you can do a tabletop, and you can present your products. So that's another thing you can pick up on the 800 number and ask me about that. I believe they're going to India next month. There's an affiliate office in Fresno. Alicia Rios is handling that outbound mission. And I'd like to say Glenn mentioned an important product that he does or he has, and that is a company profile background. I can't stress enough, do your due diligence. Those of you who are growers, producers, and those that are here in finance, you don't make loans to people, and you don't go somewhere without checking out somebody. I mean, my goodness, I think people have learned due diligence just if they're dating online or they're buying something online. So check into those products and get to know those people. Glenn, I don't believe you mentioned it, but I think we worked with the same client recently, but it was India. And this is a large processor of it's a dairy product, and they do a lot of exporting, and they got hung up in India and actually had to reship their product. But if you know somebody in the government or your relatives in the government, and there's some little way that you can hold up a product, you can lean that product in India, and then it's stuck in a warehouse, and you can't move it out of there. So look at your payment terms, look at the country that you're going into. Get an international attorney over in India. Have somebody really look at what happens there. And when things get really, really bad, you can kick it up to the trade rep. You heard earlier talking about those trade agreements. Pop up on the websites. Where do we have trade agreements? What are the things that are happening? Is it a good thing for your product, or is it a bad thing for your product? And talk to your Congress people. Talk to your state legislators. One of the great things about peers right now is that we're able to go by zip code, and we can drill in to see who you are, who's exporting, who's importing, and then we take that important message to your legislators. I think I'm missing a few more things because I talk too much. I apologize. I could go on forever. And I guess that's what I have to say. You're going to hear a lot here today. But go back to Terry, go back to Glenn. Don't be afraid to ask. But one of the websites, this right here, you can actually subscribe, and you'll never be lonely again. Your email inbox will forever provide you reading material. This is the outlook for U.S. agricultural trade. Fiscal year 2012 exports remain at 137 billion, imports to rise 105. So we're still bringing it in. But you can go to www.ers.usda.gov. Again, that's ers.usda.gov. And there are a wealth of products there. I mean, you can look at trade stats if you're writing grants. Maybe you're having to do a business proposal. Maybe you're going to your banker. Maybe you're applying to WUSADA for the branded program where you can get 50% of your translation for your brochures. You can get that money back, but you're going to need to know that you know the market that you're going into, and you have some stats to back it up. The other one is export.gov, and this is a marriage of like all the goodies out there in international trade. And then for USDA's Foreign Ag Service, that's fas.usda.gov. Again, FAS, Foreign Ag Service.usda.gov. And thank you very much for your attendance.
Jeanette, wonderful. Thank you very much. She always has a great way of being able to bring the whole program together and to kind of identify how all the different resources work together and where to go next. We do have Mr. Butterworth online. So, Mr. Butterworth?
Yes, I'm here.
Good morning. This is Terry Hicks. And
good morning, Terry.
Okay. You have you're speaking to about 100 guest here, attendees, and we are anxious to hear about what is happening there with the USDA in regards with support and services.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. This is Jim Butterworth from USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service at the U.S. Consulate in Shenyang, China. And I'm actually sitting in the office of my colleague, Ms. Yang, from the Foreign Commercial Service. I think the previous speaker gave a good introduction to the differences between the Foreign Commercial Service and the Foreign Agricultural Service, so I won't really cover that again. In just a little bit about my office, the Foreign Agricultural Service, we have 5 agricultural trade offices throughout China. They're in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Chengdu, and now my office in Shenyang is the newest office. We've been operational about 1 year. And just giving you a general overview of agricultural trade to China, frankly, the largest single item that we ship to China is soybeans, so it's not of particular interest to California, but I do think that the growth area and the area which we can influence a great deal would be the higher value products such as citrus, almonds. We work very closely with the California Almond Board, and the other high value products that are produced in California. Also with wine. We are working with the Wine Institute, and we led our first trade delegation to Napa Valley and Sonoma Valley and Lodi earlier this year. So that's sort of a general overview. I would echo what the previous speaker, Jeanette Benson, said, and that is anybody thinking to come to China should do their due diligence. A basic rule I always tell people is as with any investment, don't invest any more than you can afford to lose. Frankly, I think there's a bit of I call it 1.3 billionitis in the United States, which is everybody thinks they have to be in China. I tell people that if you're not selling your product in Denver, why do you think you should be selling it in Beijing? Now, there is a huge opportunity here, yes, but I do think that it is you need a long-term view, and you need to invest time and money before you realize a return on your investment. There are many companies in China that have been here for a long time. Volkswagen is probably a good example. They have been here for many years, and they have gone through many growing pains, but in the long term, I heard a statistic that they sold more Volkswagens in China than they did in Germany, or some figure like that. So, yes, there's a tremendous opportunity in China, but it is not easy. I like to say to people in my briefings, welcome to China where anything's possible, but nothing is easy.
In concluding here, before we start with our panel, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Business Entrepreneurship Center. We actually have a DVD which describes our services. And we're very fortunate to be hosted by the Kern Community College District. I am one of 7 centers throughout the state of California. And the Business and Entrepreneurship Center here, we support the entire Central Valley region. So we head up all the way from Merced all the way down to Saracoso College, and included in that range, we cover 14 community colleges in 16 counties with targeted industries, ag being one of them. How we even came about holding this seminar was that with one of our other business partners, the Kern Economic Development Corp., we went out and visited over 200 local businesses. And there was a number of things that came out of it. One being was the need and drive for more information on exports, on international exports. So that is our mission, is to be out there working with our small businesses. We understand is that our growth is going to come through small business. And so again, going back to that questionnaire and survey inside of your green folder, which was designed that you could go back and just drop it right into your filing cabinet, and as additional material comes, just put it under the BEC. And our telephone number's on there as well as the website. So that is something that this seminar was driven out of that work with the Kern Economic Development Corp. And in fact, if you want to know more about what our findings were with our local businesses, is you can find that information. That study is on our website.
Welcome to the Business and Entrepreneurship Center, a network of community college professionals working in partnership with businesses, industry, and community organizations. The services we provide include workshops and seminars, advanced consulting, and customized employee training. The result? Wealth creation, job creation, and retention, and better economic health in California. The Business and Entrepreneurship Center, enhancing California's long-term economic growth and viability.
Many of the activities that the BEC performs is bridging two dynamic groups. We bridge together educators and our business community. In regards with working with our businesses is that we provide one-on-one consulting services, as well as we also bring to them workshops that are pertinent to be able to grow and expand their business. By assisting small businesses, we are able to stimulate our economy, we are able to create wealth, and we're able to create jobs and retain jobs.
Our community colleges believe we should be very aggressively involved in economic and workforce development. That's why we're called community colleges, because we're part of the community. So what we do as part of working with the other economic development agencies in the counties is participate and look at not only where are the key industry clusters, but what are the emerging trends? How do we know what else is coming up? Is there something new that we should support, particularly if we're adding new classes in our colleges, or deciding that ones are no longer useful? So we take that information that we get as part of the business and industry services that we provide, the labor market data, and inform our programs, not only, as I said, on the clusters, but what types of needs are out there, what kind of jobs are there going to be in the next 3 to 5 years. And we take that information and use that within our classes also, so that what we do in our colleges is very relevant.
One of the things that we are working with our young students on is to be able to go out and to create opportunities instead of just chasing the traditional ones. And that is one thing that's really important for the development, why we are developing the entrepreneur curriculum and certificates within our community colleges.
We want to have an impact. We want to help improve the economy, and we know we can do that best by training the workforce, either by providing students that are highly skilled once they graduate, or by training employees through some of the services that we provide, or like the business and entrepreneurship that not only facilitates what we do with students, but actually also provides services to business and industry. Our Business and Entrepreneurship Center is really the foundation of the services that we provide to business and industry, because it's going to help small businesses be successful, and that's the key.
The Business and Entrepreneurship Center, along with our economic development corporations, recently went out and visited several hundred businesses in our local community as well as throughout our region. What we found in these visits is that some of the most common business needs included feasibility studies, cash flow analysis, branding, marketing. The BEC is structured to where we will partner with many outside organizations. They can be with our local and state governments, could be with nonprofit organizations, with our economic development corporations, with our chambers. We start to broker or to bridge and to put all the pieces together for a business owner. It could be a simple request is needing some assistance with a permit. It could be providing some marketing guidance. It could be also to providing some type of a feasibility study, whether it would make sense to have a park and ride for our employees who need to travel, the distance to a remote manufacturing location. One of the benefits that I believe that I bring to the Business and Entrepreneurship Center is that myself have been a business owner, have had the dream, have followed my passion, have started in the living room with one child on the hip, so to speak, and was able to grow a business from a home-based business into a large corporation that was later sold. And so when talking with a business owner, I understand what they're going through and have been able to say, I too have signed both sides of that check along with you, and I understand some of the issues that you're having with your employees, as I understand the issues that you're having with financing and marketing, and be able to provide some of my insight and some of my experience, and then be able to put together the other solutions to be able to direct that business owner or that executive to be able to draw upon some of our resources in our community. We want to work with our business owners and with our executives in our businesses to be able to call upon the Business and Entrepreneurship Center to assist them in growing their business. And we also want to call upon our young people to engage in the idea of entrepreneurship as a career path for them too.
The Business and Entrepreneurship Center supports local economic development corporations, chambers of commerce, and other community-based organizations whose primary mission is to assist small businesses. Contact the BEC today to see how we can serve you.